Don Williams, welcome back to the Soccer Queens podcast.
Oh, you're the best, Erica. I love this. I love talking to you. And I love all the positive comments that we've been getting on our podcast together. We're good. I don't know. I guess we're a good team. I like it. Let's go.
We've done pretty much every topic related to college soccer recruiting, but I don't think we've ever did a deep dive on the D1 or bust mentality. I'm just going to open up with this because I know you get a lot of these comments, but are you anti D1?
My son played D1. My son coached D1. About a third of our players go D1, boys and girls. It's pretty much equal. A little few more on the boys' side than the girls' side. Some of my best friends coach D1. So I don't know how I could be against a label. Like, are you anti-Gucci? You don't wear Gucci belts, Don. Are you anti-Gucci? You must be anti-Gucci. You must hate Gucci because you don't wear Gucci belts. Like, no, they're $350 each. Why would I do that? I go down to, I was going to say Mervin's. That's how old I am. I go down to the store. I go to Ross and I pick out a belt that works for me and I put it on and I pay no attention to the brand. If Pierre Cardin is Pierre Cardin, in fact, if Pierre Cardin, I probably won't buy it because I don't care about labels. And honestly, Erica, once we get past the top 20, 25, 30 schools that you've heard of, what does the D1 label matter to you anymore? You know, if you go to the, what's the women's soccer number? 368 schools? Something like that. If you go to the number 368 school who hasn't won a game in 5 years D1, how is that necessarily a positive soccer experience for you? So I'm always about the right fit. It's like, I don't know, what do you want academically? I don't know, what do you want socially? How much money do you have to spend, right? How far are you willing to move from home? Which schools are going to help you reach your, what is the goal, by the way, before we even talk about any of that? What's the end goal? If it's to play professionally and that's the end goal and you're single-minded and you're like my son was, that's all he wanted. All he wanted, like, bro, all he wanted. And he chased it all the way until he was 25 and it didn't make sense anymore financially to keep chasing that dream. And then he became a soccer coach. So no surprise, he's still coaching soccer today because it's all he wanted to do was soccer. It's all he's really interested in professionally is soccer. So if that's you and you're good enough, then maybe it makes a difference if you can go to a high enough level school. But frankly, I'm a competitive person. So I look at things from my perspective because I'm highly competitive. I'd rather win a NAIA national championship than be on the 322nd best team in the country and win 3 games. That would kill me. Like every morning I would wake up going, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? What's wrong with us? How can we never win anything? Well, winning's not everything. It's a competitive sport. We keep score and we report scores, right? And those scores lead to something, right? They lead to playoffs and they lead to an extended season. I want to play more games. I don't want to stop. I love this game so much. So what's important to you, Erica? That is what determines to me whether you should play D1, D2, D3, NAIA in this state, in that state, the big school, small school. You know, what fits you? What's the right fit for you? I think it's infinitely more important than the label of the level that you play under.
You make a good point with the top 25 D1s. I think that's what most girls think of when they think of, I want to play D1. But I'm just curious because I was talking to Bridget Andrzejewski. She used to play at UNC and she was a critical player all 4 years and got a lot of playing time. And I asked her, I was like, were most of those girls on that roster US youth national team? And she said, yeah. And I would argue maybe a lot of the top 25 D1 schools, they were looking for US youth national team players at least. But I wanted to hear like your thoughts since you're in this because it really puts things into perspective for a lot of girls who say that when they're starting this process and just not knowing like the level and the caliber that these college coaches are looking for. And she even said Anson, he was always coming out to the US youth national camps and clinics and just getting recruits there.
Yeah, of course. Look, if you, I always say everything has a pecking order. Life has a pecking order to it, right? those that want to work for SpaceX, Elon Musk, that's their dream, private space exploration. This is exciting to them, a young man, a young woman. Then, they are searching for the best. They want the best, whatever they see the best as being. And I understand that mentality. And I think we should all strive for the best. With sports, however, it's performance based, directly performance, and we can prove those performances. It's not like, okay, I graduated from MIT and now I have to prove myself in the world of aerospace science. I have no body of proof that I can actually do this job, no body of work to prove that I can do this job. In soccer, we kind of have a body of work that we can look back on over freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year at various levels against various levels competition. I've got a player right now that the family highly suspected she could be a D1 kid. And without a doubt, myself and every coach that I showed her film to, the level of competition she was playing against was so low that nobody's sure. Nobody's positive. I mean, very well could be a world class player, but could be a bust too because she just folds under the pressure. We've not seen her under the pressure yet. That's the idea of the ECNL, and I completely understand that. And to an extent, I agree with it. To an extent, but the bottom line is that we have to look at the player's resume. That's part of it. So if one girl has come from whatever the top ECNL team in the country is, and another girl has come from Manchester United and plays for the England national team, I don't know, Erica, if you were a coach, which one would you be more excited about watching the video about just based on the resume? Which one would you go to first because you're curious?
The player who's played at a high level.
And so I don't think that attitude is any different than anybody in the world. And the American parent complains about that because that is taking a spot away from my child. Yes to Florida, maybe. Yes to Stanford, maybe. Okay. But your kid, if they were that good, would be recruited because look, the idea of any coach who's brought in a kid from another country knows that we have major issues, and especially on the women's side. Here's what we noticed on the women's side. And I had a girl, Sharifatu Sumela, who played for the Ghana national team at 16, 17, 18, full national team, currently plays pro, the best player I ever coached in my life. When I brought her into the American training environment in college and asked her to, follow the college schedule of weights in the morning typically, and then training in the afternoon, and then classes in between, and then the repetitiveness of that season crammed into such a short time span. It was, oh my groin, oh my hip flexor, oh my, and she's not lying. Her body's not used to the daily repetition like the American kid is who played high school, who's already been through that high school, like, oh my body's adapted. It's adjusted to it. And so we have that physical factor, men's and women's side, but more on the women's side, I noticed it. And then we have the homesick piece. I don't know how. I've had some of the best players I've ever coached come, show up for 3 weeks, and then go home. They couldn't take the homesickness. I had a kid who would not leave the airport, San Francisco airport, to get on the plane to come to Reno so I could pick him up. He got as far as the San Francisco airport and he went home. That was it. So we don't have that as much with the American kids as we have with the international kids. So would an American coach prefer an American player who understands our American monetary system and our American shopping system, American culture? Is that kid going to translate better into the US college system than an international at first, at least the first year? Probably. That's my experience. What's the problem? We can't find enough of them, especially on the women's side. Once we get through the best players in the country, I don't know, Erica, what's your guess? What's the number? What's the number of high quality, top 25, top 50, want to make it top 100? I don't care. D1, top 10, D2, top 10, D3, top 10 NAIA. I don't know what the exact cutoff is where you see the market differences. But, still, I still think that the women's national championship team that plays in a tournament with the NAIA, JC, D3, D2 national champions, I bet they don't lose a game on the women's side. On the men's side, I bet they lose some games. I bet they lose some games. I bet there's some competition there. It's just a little bit different between the men's and the women's side. And I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you did, and I do wanna talk about a comment that we got the other day when we were discussing doing this episode on the D1 or bust mentality, and I think it was something like, "Can you guys discuss the D2 and D3 or bust mentality?" And I wouldn't even, like, call it that. I think it's just more so, like, you promote the right fit and you tell players, "Hey, like, there are so many great programs in all divisions, and it's really competitive, and you can have a great experience at all schools, whether you do get the opportunity to be at a top 25 D1 school, or instead of that, you maybe go to a top 100 D1 school, and if you're not happy there, you'll be happier at a top 10 D3 school." So, I don't know, like, I think it's, like, hard when we label things like that, but how would you respond to that? Is there a D2 or D3 bus mentality that you're promoting?
I promote nothing. I promote information. I promote education and information is what I promote. Um, I think tweets are really hard because, like, I tweet 10 times a day, probably on average. So, and it's at various points throughout the day. I always say, you kind of know what I'm going through in my work life based on what I tweet. It's kind of my diary, it's kind of my journal. Um, it's my form of journaling, and I'm just getting something out of my system based on what I noticed with no agenda and not knowing how the public's going to accept it, not knowing if it's going to be popular or not. I have no idea. I posted something on Instagram the other day and it got 5 million views and over two and almost 3 million unique views.
What
It's
was
like,
it?
I had no, it was silly. I posted on Twitter too. It wasn't silly. It was the line. So it was a bunch of players doing what looks like the beat test to me. They got to the line and 5 or 6 players cut that line short. All the players at the end, all the players that were leading the pack actually went over the line. All the players at the bottom of the pack decided, I'm behind, I need to cheat. I need to cheat. I need to catch up to those guys. So I'll cut the line. And my response, my message was, hey, that line is integrity, man. In fact, that was the message in the original post. It's integrity. It's saying, I won't cheat no matter what. I am going to work. I'm going to earn this the right way, the honest way. If I'm one of the best, I'm one of the best. And if I'm not, I'm willing to look at myself introspectively in the mirror and say, I'm not there yet. What do I have to do to get there? That's the mindset to me of a champion, as opposed to the loser who's not a champion says, I'll cut corners to get there. I'll cheat to get there. I'll do anything I can do to get there, even if it's immoral, unethical, and even if it hurts my team. I only care about me. So that's what I got out of the post, and it resonated with some people on Instagram. Didn't on Twitter necessarily, which is fine. I don't know what's going to hit. So my point is that I don't post things because I'm trying to get some result to happen. I just post, and I add SRUSA at the end of all my tweets now. I didn't used to. But it's like, you should know what kind of people you're dealing with. If you decide that you need help, these are our attitudes as the company. This is kind of, because I kind of bring in people with the same attitude that I have. And that's, we just want to help families. That's it. If you need help, if you don't need help, go. Here's all this free advice. Here's all these podcasts. You've noticed I pinned all your
10
podcasts to our
10
Facebook page.
podcasts probably you and I have done, and tweeting 10 times a day, that's a lot of time, John, like, That is a lot of free
I
advice
live,
and insight,
I've
and I totally see that, like, how it's your journal, and it seems like with your tweets, like, you're responding to something you either observe in the scene or, like, a question or a conversation you had had with a parent, because I'm sure a lot of parents, like, had a similar question to that person you talked to, so you just put it on Twitter and just help everyone else instead of, like, maybe paying your fee, like you said, like, not everyone has to work with you, and that's totally fine.
no, we're all like that in the service industry, right? I mean, come on, Erica, with the amount of videos online today, a kid could spend hundreds and hundreds of hours, do their research, put together their own fitness program that makes sense for them, or they can just save all that time, jump straight to let's go get it done, work with Erica, get it down to the basics. And I'm sure you have clients that at some point say, thank you, I will continue with what you've given me and I don't need you anymore and I'll come back to you if I need you. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but it's that way with nutrition, fitness, recruiting, anything that's a service-based industry. I think that's how it works in my observation. And you have to be okay with that. And I'm perfectly okay with it because that's I'm like that as a consumer. Give me the information, I'll use the information I want, I'll discard the information I don't want, and then I will move forward with my life and I may not even think about you again. That's how I am as a consumer. So I assume everybody is kind of the same.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you can take what you want with the information. If you get enough, then great, we did our job, but if you need more, then you always have to invest something, whether it's time or money, and you decide ultimately at the end of the day what works best for you. Now, I want to come back to like the D1 schools that are on that lower end, like in the top 100 or maybe even a little bit beyond that, like in the 200s. And
Mhm.
I have, like, seen some girls who are like, "You know what? Like, I'm okay with going to those schools, like, I just wanna play D1," and then they actually realize that, like, some of those schools might not even want them, and then they're devastated. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like, no D1 program wants me," but then, like, a really good, like, JUCO wants them, but they're still, like, not happy about that. So, like, how can girls like navigate that situation, especially if like their club coach is like, you're a D1 player, like it doesn't matter like what the ranking is, you should just like be D1.
Uh, First thing I would do if I was a child or a parent is ask the coach, what makes you say that? What in your experience makes you say that I am D? Look, we tend to take what we want to hear and we go, great, I'm D1, and we run away and we ask no questions. But if you tell me I can't play D1, then we'll sit there and we'll question you for an hour. Well, what's wrong? Why can't I play D1? Shouldn't we be questioning both sides? So the first thing I would do is question. So what makes you say that? What have you observed? Where do you think I fit? And the next question is, would you be willing to pick up the phone and vouch for me to those coaches that you say that I should be playing at for? And if the coach says no, isn't that a red flag? If they won't put their reputation on the line for you, how much do they really believe it? And that's the basis of our business, frankly, is I will not pick up the phone. We won't pick up the phone to coaches that we don't think that kid belongs to. Why would we? It's our reputation. And if we're wrong, it ruins all the kids that come after with that coach because we made a recommendation. So that's the first thing that I would say. The second thing that I would say, look, I still don't have a problem with the kid says, I want to play D1, I want to play D1, I want to play D1, I want to play D1. But if you've gotten to 18 years old and you're graduating and it hasn't happened yet, then what's the plan B to reach your plan A? Junior college is a great place to start because you're only committing to that coach for a maximum of 2 years. Frankly, if you're an NCAA qualifier, it's only 1 year you have to stay there. So if everybody in the world is wrong and you truly are a D1 player, all those coaches in the country are wrong. They missed you. They made a mistake. If you're a junior college All American, if you've been named as one of the top 11 players in the country, or even second team All American, top 22 players in the country coming out of junior college, I personally know 250 D1 coaches who would love to talk to you because you proved it. You've got it on film. You proved it. You're nationally recognized. So if you want to change the narrative about yourself, I love that you said the word invest. You know, one of my favorite sayings is those that aren't willing to bet on themselves, those that aren't willing to invest in themselves, should not be surprised when others won't bet on them and invest on them in them. Why should I invest in you, Erica, if you're not willing to invest in yourself? You have no desire to do this and you want me to do this for you? That's not the way that the world works in general, in my observation. And I think people really appreciate it. And I think junior college is an example of kids that have said, oh, let me go prove you wrong. You're all wrong. Let me go prove it. And I'm going to prove it. And now, look, if you are the 17th best player on your seventh place junior college team in your conference, they were probably right. But you got an opportunity to prove it, didn't you? Probably for free or close to at junior college. And you got your core education out of the way for probably free. So that was a good investment in yourself to see if you were right or if they were right, the D1 coaches who rejected you. That's just an example. And we get kids that do that out of, look, I've got a lot of NAIA friends that say, look, if the kid comes in and they're all American for us, I'll shove them out the door. I will shove them out the door. And I've got D3 coaches that have said that. I've got D2 coaches that have said that. Is look, I'm not here to hold a kid back. If they can help us win the championship, and they should never be in our conference, they're way too good. We will help them find schools. And we've
Yeah.
said that to our clients too. Look, this is your best opportunity. And it's always, we always describe it, Erica, it's a series of tick boxes that everybody has. Now, what's the most important thing for Erica Sutter? I could tell it was your academics, otherwise you wouldn't have chosen Johns Hopkins. Why would you go to Johns Hopkins if soccer was the most important thing in your life? Why would you do that? You wouldn't do that. You have an area of science that excited you, and Johns Hopkins is one of the best scientific institutions in the world. So why wouldn't I pick that? It makes sense for me. So your education, I'm going to assume for you, you tell me if I'm wrong, was a 10 out of 10 in importance. For me and my son, it was a 3 out of 10. We did our education because we wanted to continue to be involved in soccer. And it was the way that we saw, it was the pathway that we saw to stay involved in soccer. Are you right and I'm wrong? Or am I right and you were wrong? No, it's your life. It's what's important to you. It's your family values. It's your personal values. It's the way that you see the world based on your upbringing and experience. These are the things that I prioritize. Drives me insane, Erica, when people go, kids should focus on academics first. No, Erica Sutter should focus on academics first. Don Williams should not. Because it wasn't, academics was an ends to an end goal. It was something I had that would lead me to my end goal, which was staying involved in soccer. That wasn't your end goal. So your end goal was different than my end goal. Then of course our pathway should be different. Who can't see that? It's insane that people can't see this, Erica. We are so myopic based on our experience. And this is normal, by the way. I'm not faulting anybody. This is human nature. We become myopic based on our experiences and our values. And that's what we see. And we think everybody should conform to me and my values and my views, as opposed to, no, it's a big world and everybody's got a different goal and different opinion, different view. That's why the D1 or bust mentality is so dangerous. Because kids get focused in on the wrong things unless they're focused on the right thing for them, which is, look, I'm an All-American. I'm one of the best players in the country. I want to play D1. I want to go on to have a pro career. I want to go on to have a coaching career. Soccer is my life. This is all that I want. And then go ahead, chase your dreams. The marketplace will end up determining, Erica, where you belong at the end of the day. If you've gone to the Stanford camp and the Notre Dame camp and the North Carolina camp, and none of them have pulled you aside and said, What's it going to take to have you come play for us? I've not seen anything like you in a long time. You will make a difference in our team. We want you. If they're not doing that and you've shown up in front of them and you've shown them what you can do, what's next, Erica? Start begging. That's what I've noticed. We start begging. Please, coach, please take me. I'll come to another camp. I'll come to another camp. Please come see me play. I'll give you another opportunity to assess me and another opportunity. And this kid's given that coach 10 opportunities to assess them. And that coach has been at those events, ECNL, GA, whatever. And then they're still not recruiting you and you're still begging them and you're still paying for their camps. I don't know. Who's the unrealistic one in that situation?
You're right. People just have to really understand what they want and what the end goal is and be real with where they're at. And I really like what you said about a lot of the JUCO schools and how you can get that chance to prove yourself and maybe transfer out. And I know a lot of JUCO coaches who love going to bat for their players, especially the All-American players who do want to end up at a Division I school. Yesterday, I went to Pasco Hernandez here in Tampa. Coach Mark Leonard, he's one of my good friends, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm always calling D1 coaches for like our top girls," and they really got these girls' backs. And Colton Bryant as well is another one. I mean, there's so many, and it can be a great pathway and second chance, and there are those stories. So that's up to you, and if you were late in the recruiting process or you felt you didn't get a fair look and you go to JUCO for a year, then great. Give it a shot. Why not? We're not discouraging anyone from that. But, some people will realize maybe it's on the other end of the spectrum where, okay, they shouldn't have played at a high level and they should have been at this other school. So it's just really interesting to talk about. And I think overall the takeaway message from today is just be on your own path. Be on your own path. Everyone's so different. I love the example of you, Don, and me focusing on academics. It's so true. Like I actually was recruited by top D1 schools like Wisconsin and Maryland, but I wanted academics. I wanted a small school. I wanted to be in Baltimore City. And that was what Erica wanted. People thought I was crazy for turning down Wisconsin, where Rose Lavelle played. And Maryland, Brian Penske was the coach at the time. And it was a great program they were building. And I gave it all up because I was like, you know what? I want to be a Blue Jay. And I'm so happy I did that. But that was my own path.
Yeah.
Maybe someone else would have chosen Wisconsin in that situation, and that's great too. Maybe it would have been super. But I'm grateful for what I did in that experience. And I'll actually link the podcast I did on me talking about turning down
Oh,
D1
yeah.
offers in the caption
Yeah. It's a
below.
good one.
Got a lot of views. Crazy story with that one, but go be entertained, listen to that. I'll also link me and Don's other episodes below as well. So many free episodes. Take all the advice you need. But if you want to get more, I'll also include Don's website link as well. But again, up to you. Own your journey and just focus on your path. Don, do you have anything else to say or
I
parting
love that. My
words?
one of my favorite quotes is comparison is the thief of joy. Stop comparing yourself to other kids. Stop comparing your journey to other people's journeys. It has nothing to do with you. It's not your business. The other one of my other favorite sayings, my daughter threw this one at me. What other people think of you is none of your business. You can't control their thoughts. How is it your business? What they think of you. What, are you going to change their mind? So don't worry about what other people think. Please, please. And I know it's so hard. I do. I worry about what other people think, Erica, and I bet you do too. It's hard. We're not saying it's easy, but this is the most important, I don't know, one of the top 5 most important decisions you'll ever make in your life, maybe. Where to go to college. How much does it set the tone for the next 40, 50 years of your working career or whatever it is? How much does it set the tone for it? Plus the friendships, right? The friendships. I posted a picture the other day, I don't know if you saw it, of my Cal State East Bay girls 100 years ago. I look so young. And they were the silliest, most fun group that I've ever been around. And the fact that they still talk to each other and interact with each other and godparents to their children and go to each other's weddings and support each other and love each other and how much they still talk about each other and talk to each other. It's like, I don't know. What are we going to remember on our deathbeds, Erica? The fact that we played D1 or the fact that we have all these wonderful relationships from our college experience and life? Probably the second, probably.
Yeah, the friendships from college are just they last a lifetime, and those are, like, the friends you stay in touch with. I don't really talk to many people from high school anymore, but it's, like, your college group that you actually stay in touch with, and all my, Hopkins girls came to my wedding last month, and then we went to another teammate's wedding. It was like a Hopkins celebration for 2 months straight, but it was just so fun, and, like, yeah, it just seems like yesterday we all were playing, and, we could do a whole episode on team chemistry and culture and picking a college based off of that, and of
Oh, let's bring
course
Paul Jobson on board and we will have
yeah,
that discussion. I'm serious.
yeah,
Let's
we
do a three-way
should.
talk on that. He's an expert in that. That's a great, but you're right. That's what it is. It's those,
Mhm.
and I think it's because we all jump into adulthood at the same time together, away from home, into this environment, as opposed to having our family as our support structure. This becomes our new support structure. And I think that's why those relationships are so different from high school relationships.
Mhm. And I will, like, leave this disclaimer that we're not saying that a top 25 D1 school doesn't have culture. I mean, that is, like, so dumb,
Oh,
like,
no. In
there are
fact, they won't
yeah,
be top 25 if they don't have culture. Probably.
exactly.
Probably won't be very good.
But I have heard from some girls who decided to go to, like, a top 25 D1 school, several years ago, and that when they got to campus for preseason, the team culture was just not it. So that can happen too, and
That can
they
happen
said,
too.
"Look, we went because the school was, like, D1, it was, like, flashy, the soccer facilities were great," and then they were shocked how, like, bad the coaching was, like, even at a top 25. But this was years ago, but there's so
Mhm.
many top 25 programs now. I mean, Randy Anson, like, Brian Penske, like, they're all doing such amazing jobs, and you just have to really look at what you want out of a program and realistically where you fit into the picture.
Yeah, and then understand what you're walking into in reality. I would say every kid's okay with staying home, Erica. It's like I hear this all the time. I'm willing to start at the bottom
Mhm.
if I can get into that program. I'm willing to sit. I understand I'm not a starter right away. I get all of that.
I had a girl do that at UNC. She loved it. Like, she just wanted to be with the team, which is and she had a blast, but that was her. That would not be fine with a
So,
lot of other girls, especially some of the starting girls on that team.
would not have been okay with me.
Right.
Wouldn't have been
Not
okay
me
with me.
either.
No, look, week
Yeah.
one, you don't get picked for this travel squad, and you're on your phone and you're on Instagram and you're looking
Mhm.
at all the pictures of the team posting team dinner. We're out here, we're on the bus,
I
rah
wouldn't be
rah,
okay with that
singing,
one.
winning, but and you go, I'm not there.
Yeah.
And then week one, it's okay because you think you're going to earn your. But by week 6, 7, and you haven't been selected, it starts to get really old. And by the end of the season, 99% of the kids go, "This is not what I signed up for. I know I said this is what I would do, but now that I'm experiencing it, it's absolutely not the experience that I want." And then they transfer. Um, and there's always two ways to look at it. You can sit it out and wait, and then your junior and senior year, your turn will come, or you can just run away now. Run away now.
Buy
And
yourself some time and get a year
I,
or 2 of playing.
And if that's what you want, if that's what makes you happy, I'm okay with either side of it. I'm not going to demonize the kid who chooses to sit. And I'm
Mhm.
like Ryan Saylor at University of Washington played 70 minutes in 3 years. Senior year, he's on the Herman Mack list, and now he's playing at Miami. It's like that's a crazy story that I don't know. Maybe he'll be the last player in the country to ever do that because kids are just running to the portal so fast. They
Mhm.
don't even give themselves an opportunity to settle in for year 2 and year 3. And I always tell my kids, it took 2 years. Just stay there for 2 years. We'll figure it out. If you don't play, there's 2 years of grad school that we can pay for, right?
Mhm.
Somewhere down the line, or you can use those in that situation. So stick it out for 2 years because year one is a false year. That
Mhm.
freshman year is so nerve wracking. Do you remember what it felt like?
It was pretty scary.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It's scary. And it takes time to settle in sometimes. And
Mhm.
some kids settle in quicker than others. So year 2 is really a better indicator than year 1. I hate to see kids transferring before at least giving it a second season. But
Well,
You know,
one
it
thing
is
I
what it
really
is.
like about Anson at UNC is after year 1, he will tell a lot of the girls based on who he recruited and who's coming in. He'll be like, "Look, it's either like yay or nay. Like you're not going to get playing time. I'm just going to tell you now in year 1, now that we're done with this, so that you can possibly transfer in year 2 because just letting you know, you might not be like seeing the field." And that's just my honest opinion. And I appreciate coaches like that who do that.
I appreciate that, and I also appreciate the kid that says, "Thank you, coach, for sharing. Give me a work plan and let me prove you wrong.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
not going anywhere. I committed to you, and I'm going to spend the next 3 years of my life proving you wrong.
Yeah.
Let's go, coach. Let's go win another national title, and I'm going to help you do it.
Mhm.
And we're going to prove you wrong." That is it missing from our society today? Generally, is it going away? Is that attitude of "screw you, I'm going to prove you wrong" going away? I, I don't know. It's a question. Maybe it's worth another podcast.
Well, I'll be here always ready to reach out and have you back on. So, thank you again, Don. This was a great discussion. And for everyone listening, we hoped it helped clarify some things about Division 1. And Don, I will see you next time.
Let's do it.